I've literally started this video multiple times because some random kid was screaming. Hi, hello guys, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to a new episode of something I would like to call a bookish chit chat with me. I'm just sitting in my cute little green sofa that I have in my room next to my one bookshelf that's actually quite packed. And I just want to have like a chit chat about the books that I read lately because I've had some very good reads and I want to share with you guys. So the first book, the latest book I've read that I gave 5 stars. Where did 7 stars come from? I'm still, oh my gosh, why can't I just, talk normally? I can start the video now that the random kid isn't screaming and I can finally speak correctly. First book I gave 5 stars to is called The Corset by Laura Purcell. This author is just creeping her way into becoming one of my favorites paranormal gothic Victorian horror because this book just blew my mind, okay? And I've already read another book by hers that already blew my mind also. I'm gonna get to it in a second, but this one, The Corset, it was so creepy and I had no idea what was going on, and I like that about mysterious, like paranormal-ish books, because this book is not entirely paranormal, don't get me wrong. It's more like horror, definitely more horror oriented, set in like the Victorian era, and it's just so good. The plot is not something I've seen before because it's about a girl. She's admitted to this, I think, a mental institution, and then she's admitted in a place where they keep convicts, death row convicts, because this girl was sentenced to be hanged. And so we have two really female protagonists, the murderous girl and a noble lady who, out of the kindness of her heart, kind of like picks up on female prisoners and tries to give them a fairly pleasant last days of their lives kind of vibe. Like, she gives them comfort, she tries to talk to them. So she meets this girl, and this girl just tells her that she basically murders people, can kill people by the things that she sews. She's a seamstress, and I think her feelings kind of seep into the things that she's sewing. Like, if she's sewing something for this person that she particularly hates, like they die. And I don't know, like at this point I finished this book and I still don't know if it was all in her head or if she really had a mysterious ability, because it's not clear, but it's also not denied, Anyways, I think you'll love this book if you like mystery and not knowing what's going on. And also it's written in like old English kind of vibes, and if you love classics and you love horror and mystery, I'm pretty sure you'll love The Corset by Laura Purcell. And since we're already talking about Laura Purcell, let me talk about the first book that I've read by hers that completely blew my mind. And it was because of this book that I decided to read her entire works. And so the first book, I have it right next to me. It's here. It's called The Silent Companions. It's still a sinister Victorian Gothic kind of book. This also, I had no idea what was going on, but it sure was creepy and it sure was mysterious, and I loved every second of it. I felt like I was living in this creepy mansion with them, like I was seeing all these creepy things happen. Like, she writes in such a way, she grips you. Like, when I pick up her books, I can't let them go. Like, I've read this in one sitting, and I've read The Corset in one sitting also. I am in love with the way she writes, and it's been such a long time since I said that about a certain author, because I don't get attached to authors like easily. Like, you have to write many great books for me to be like, oh, okay, I kind of love you right now. The ones that made me feel that way were the Bronte sisters, like the classics. I love their books, but Laura Purcell is gonna be one of my faves, and I'm currently reading her third work. It's called Bone China. I've just started it. It's still I love it already because it's still the same creepy vibe and I don't know what's going on, and I love the way she writes, so I'm excited to see how that turns out. But I gave the corset and this 5 stars for both of them because I just love them so much. And now I'm going to be talking about a series that has quite dominated my bookshelf, and also since the new season is coming out on Netflix, I read the Bridgertons. I didn't read all of it. I read the first book. I hated the first book. The first book is horrible. Please don't read it. Don't waste your time. The first book was actually super nice. Like they had this, Daphne and Simon had this like banter going on. Like, you know, their chemistry was off the hooks. But then came that scene, and if you've watched season 1 of the Bridgerton series on Netflix, you know what scene I'm talking about. So I'm not gonna talk about it here because it's already disgusting in itself. But let me just tell you that the book is worse. Yes, in the Netflix series, they tried to fix it up. They fixed it up a little bit, even though it's not salvageable. It's still a shitty ass scene. But in the book, it's way worse. And it's described as way worse, and Daphne's mindset is way worse. I literally wanted to punch Daphne, like book Daphne so hard, like even more than I wanted to punch Daphne in the series, because the act in itself has no excuse, and I did not understand why a book that started so well. I really liked their chemistry. They had way more chemistry in the beginning of the book than they did in the series. Unfortunately, I couldn't like, it's weird. Don't read the first book, okay? The second book that's about Anthony and Kate, I haven't read it yet because I've watched season 2 on Netflix, and I don't think anything can top that for me because that is literally my favorite season. Season 2 is literally the bane of my existence, as Anthony says. I love season 2 to death, and I'm kind of scared to read the book and have it kind of ruin it for me. I don't know. I will see if I will read it. But anyways, this was all just to give you the context that while waiting for season 3, that's going to be about Penelope and Colin. By the way, I love Penelope. I've decided to read her book. I've read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Penelope and Colin's story, and let me tell you, I honestly thought it was very cute. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm a very big fan of friends to lovers trope, and I thought it was done very nicely. It was very sweet. The one thing that would have made it perfect in my eyes is if Colin suffered a little bit more. You know, I don't think he suffered enough in the book, because Penelope has been pining for him all these years. It was just her one-sided love, and you know, I just wanted there to be some kind of second male lead to kind of make Colin jealous and make him realize how much of a great person Penelope actually is. But there wasn't anything like that. But I think it's also pretty sweet because he just came to like her for who she was. But I still want to see that, so I hope that in the series they give me that, just for the pleasure of watching Colin suffer just as Penelope suffered, because Colin had it way too easy. But you know, it was so sweet. Penelope in the book is so sweet. She's so adorable. She loves wholeheartedly, and I literally cannot fault her for that. Like, she loved one person wholeheartedly, and I have nothing to say. It was very cute. I enjoyed it, and since I enjoyed it, I decided to check out other Bridgerton books, and so I ended up reading 2. The other one I read is An Offer from a Gentleman, which is a Benedict's story. Benedict is his second eldest son. So Benedict and Sophie's story actually is very entertaining. This is kind of more like Cinderella vibes, because Sophie was abused by her stepmother and her daughter, so it very much resembles its Cinderella story, and it was very satisfying to read, very fun. I enjoyed it, to be honest. It was a good romance. I have nothing else to say. Like, I think out of all the books I've read so far, It's kind of my favorite along with Penelope's story. That one was great. And I did not stop there because I picked up Eloise's story, which is called To Sir Philip with Love. Now, I picked this up because I was very curious if book Eloise was going to be similar to Netflix Eloise, because Netflix Eloise is very, she's a feminist. She speaks her mind, but I think book Eloise, she's just known for speaking a lot. Like, she's not really known for anything else. She just talks a lot. She's very, hyper, which I thought is very endearing. Basically, she corresponds with this guy called Sir Philip for an entire year, and he proposes that they meet and talk about marriage, because at this point Eloise is a spinster. Like, most of her siblings got married, her best friend Penelope got married, and she got really lonely, and so she thought she didn't have time to choose anymore. She didn't get any younger. All her previous proposals she rejected because they were, whatever, she didn't like them. She wants to settle down, which is fine, I guess. So she corresponds with Sir Philip, and they meet, and they, kind of vibe with each other. He already has 2 children from a previous marriage. What I found unfortunate in this book was that I wanted to see more of the letters, because in the beginning, we only had like 3 letters, and they were, just the beginning of their correspondence. Like, I wanted to see more of the romantic correspondence, but I think it wasn't meant to be romantic, because we just had 3 letters, and then the time skip that they've been corresponding for over a year, and then she goes over to his place and meets him and his 2 children, and then they bond. But I think the main story of Eloise is kind of like a found family trope, because as Eloise mentions a lot in this book, she feels kind of left out from her family. Not that they don't give her attention, they're a very loving family, but most of her siblings, as I said, are married, they're settled, they have children, so she kind of feels alone and lonely and wants to make a life for herself too and make her mother happy. And I think their romance and their bonding is quite cute. I love also her relationship with the children, because they did not start off at the right foot. The children were teasing her a lot, they were kind of bullying her with their kids. But she quickly stole their hearts, and they got married at the end, and it was very sweet. So I love this kind of sort of arranged marriage, because they arranged it for themselves. Found family, because now she has 2 beautiful children on top of the ones that she has with Philip later on. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and this is the last book that I've read from the Bridgerton series. Another book, I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, I forgot, but I've read also Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This was a fantasy book, and it was very enjoyable. It was about a girl who can literally turn silver to gold, and this interests one of the high Fae Lords, and he kidnaps her and asks her to turn his entire treasury of silver into gold. And it's a very great story, I think, because it has a lot of female protagonists, each their own story, their own POV, and I enjoy multiple POVs in a fantasy book. So yeah, this was very enjoyable. I recommend it if you're looking for a quick read. This is a standalone, I believe. I'm not sure, but I've read it as a standalone. The story ends at the end. It's a happy ending to everyone. It's a feel-good book with a nice fantasy, a nice plot, and really great female protagonists, I must say. I was not bored with any of them. They were very great. Also, I've read You've Reached Sam, and I think I've talked about this, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But I liked it. It was sad. It did make me cry at the end. I don't know why I bought it, because I bought it knowing that it's gonna make me cry. I've seen all the TikToks, I've seen all of Book Talk, buy this, cry, and then I bought this, and I said I wasn't gonna cry, but then I ended up crying because the ending just hit hard. It was very enjoyable though. I liked it. I don't remember how much I gave it, maybe 4 stars, maybe 3. But yeah, it's just the kind of book you want to read when you're I don't know, if you want to torture yourself like me and cry for no goddamn good reason. But yeah, this was enjoyable as well. Another book I've been excited to read and that I enjoyed is this one. It's called The Daughter of the Moon Goddess. To be very honest with you guys, I bought this mainly because the cover was so pretty. I think this story is very nice. I think it's inspired by Chinese mythology. It's an adventure of love and family and magic also. The one thing I would like to say about this book is I wish the female protagonist, I wish she would not be so hung up on love. I don't think that's relevant to her story, because at one point while reading this, I was very confused if she was still trying to save her mother. I was very confused at one point in this book, but then we go back to the adventure part where she actually manages to save her mother. So yeah, I think I gave it like 4 or 3 stars. I don't remember. It was something like that. Maybe 3 stars. Now we're gonna go to crime books, mystery books. This one is called One More Lie by Amy Lloyd. I actually was gifted this by my friend Khadija. Thank you very much. So I've read this. This book had me bamboozled. It had me scammed. And I can't say why, because it will spoil the entire book for you, but I highly recommend it. This book was the biggest plot twist I have ever experienced in a long time, and it's been a long time since I've experienced something with a plot twist that I hadn't already noticed, because usually plot twists are, you know, you kind of notice them as the story goes, you kind of figure them out. But this one I was like, what? And it was at the end also, so there was nothing after that, and I was like, okay, so my entire life is a lie. What was the feeling I got when I finished this book? My entire life is a lie. I was lied to. I was bamboozled, but I loved it very much. It was very good. There's a very creepy character here. Read this. I can't say anything about it. You gotta read this, because crime books, it's easy to spoil them. And I can't say anything because I don't want to spoil, okay? So yeah, very enjoyable. Check it out. I just destroyed the entire pile that I had here. Thank you very much. Okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Last is this one called Keeper by Jessica Moore. I have one way to describe this book for you. If you've read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, this is the bad-ended version. This is the real-life version where there is no Atlas, where there is no happy ending, where creeps who murder women get away with it. When I finished it, I was very sad, and also, you know, that overwhelming feeling when it's just a little too realistic, because this shit happens. The stuff in this book happens. This innocent girl was stalked and killed by her ex-boyfriend because he was just so obsessive. He could not handle living without her, and he could not handle her seeing her live her life, to the point where she ran away from him after breaking up with him, sought refuge in this kind of refuge for abused women in another city, and he managed to find her. This book, it doesn't talk just about her, it also talks about the other women in that refuge. This book is really just overwhelming in the sense that you know this shit happens, you know this is real, and there was no happy ending. He got away with it. It Ends With Us compared to this sounds like you know, a fairy tale book. I don't know if I should recommend this book, but you know, definitely out of all the books that I've mentioned, this is the heaviest one. Please look up trigger warnings before you read this in case you're sensitive to something. So please, for this book, look up trigger warnings. So yeah, I think that's all the books I wanted to talk about. Thank you so much for joining my little chit chat session. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments so I can do like more chit chats like this. And if you have any video ideas for me, also let me know in the comments below, and I'll try my best to do the most of them. Okay, I hope you guys have an amazing day, week, and month, and year, and life in general, and I'll see you guys in the next video.